I have a confession to make, and it is honestly a little disturbing.
Oh no, what happened?
So today I was trying to meet a friend at this new coffee shop, and it was exactly 3 blocks away from where I was standing.
Okay, 3 blocks.
Literally a straight line, practically. But my phone died, which meant I didn't have my GPS, and I got genuinely, hopelessly lost.
You're kidding? 3 blocks?
3 blocks. I had to ask a stranger for directions like it was, I don't know, 1995. I felt like my brain was just fundamentally broken.
Yeah, that's a wild feeling. But according to the research we're unpacking today, losing your sense of direction like that, it isn't actually a sign of cognitive decline.
Really? Because it felt like I was losing my mind.
No, it's a highly documented phenomenon called cognitive offloading. Your brain is literally physically outsourcing its navigation circuits to the cloud.
Which raises a massive question, right? If we are outsourcing our fundamental intelligence, what happens to the gray matter left behind? Like, are we evolving, or are we just becoming these empty biological hard drives?
It's the ultimate paradox of modern intelligence. Your brain is currently undergoing a massive structural shift. And if you don't understand the biology of what is happening in your own head, intelligence as a trait actually becomes a trap.
If you're obsessed with the why behind human success, you are in the right place. Hit subscribe and turn on that bell to join the Insight Lab. We drop deep dives like this every week to help you outsmart the average. Now let's get into the data.
Right. So to really grasp the data here, we have to kind of throw out all the old assumptions.
Like what?
Well, most people think hard work and pure processing power are the answers to staying relevant, but they aren't. What we're seeing in the latest cognitive research is an intelligence paradox.
Meaning the technology you use every single day isn't just a convenient tool anymore. It is actively steering the course of your human evolution.
Exactly.
Right now, as you listen to this, your brain is being upgraded and eroded at the exact same time. It's this crazy neurological tug of war.
Yeah, and if you don't know how to navigate this, you seriously risk losing your cognitive edge completely.
So we are going to break down the actual neurobiology of this shift, the literal battle happening right behind your forehead, and the specific protocol you can use tomorrow to protect your mind.
Sounds like a plan.
Let's start with the getting lost part, because I really want to understand the mechanism here. How does holding a GPS device physically alter my brain's ability to just walk down the street?
It really comes down to evolutionary economics and this concept called neuroplasticity.
Right, neuroplasticity. We hear that term a lot.
Yeah, but here's how it works in this context. The human brain is an incredibly expensive organ to run. It accounts for about 2% of your body weight.
Okay.
But it consumes roughly 20% of your resting metabolic energy.
Wait, 20%? That's huge.
It's a biological furnace.
Yeah.
Because of that, the brain is a ruthless metabolic miser. It is constantly looking for ways to conserve energy.
So it's basically auditing my daily activities to see where it can cut funding.
That is a highly accurate way to look at it, actually. Think about it. If you are constantly relying on a robotic voice to tell you to turn left in 500 feet, your brain registers that the external environment is securely holding that spatial data for you.
So I don't have to.
Right. The hippocampus, which is the region heavily involved in spatial memory and navigation, it realizes it doesn't need to maintain those dense, energy-hungry synaptic connections to build an internal mental map.
Yeah.
So through neuroplasticity, the brain physically prunes those specific connections. It just unsubscribes from the task.
That is wild. It's like I'm literally force closing the background apps on my phone to save battery power.
Exactly like that.
And it's not just navigation, right? I mean, I could barely remember my own zip code half the time, let alone my friends' phone numbers, because my AI assistant just handles all of it.
Yeah, we've outsourced all of that rote memorization.
But wait, if my brain isn't using its battery power to keep those background apps running, where is all that newly freed up metabolic energy actually going?
That is the million-dollar question.
Because if it's just disappearing, I'm essentially just getting dumber.
Well, no, the energy isn't disappearing. It is being reallocated.
Okay, reallocated to what?
So for millennia, humans were highly valued for being what we'd call information storers. The person who remembered the most facts or the most routes, they were the most evolutionarily useful.
Like the village elder who knew where all the water was.
Exactly. But today, the cloud stores information with 0 caloric burn on your end. The evolutionary advantage has shifted entirely.
Because we don't need to be the hard drive anymore.
Right. The brain is reallocating that metabolic energy away from storage and pushing it towards synthesis. We are evolving from information stores into information architects.
Information architects. Okay, let me push back on that a bit.
Sure.
Because if the AI is doing all the heavy lifting, if it retrieves the data, summarizes the articles, and spits out the bullet points for me, how am I the architect?
I see what you're saying.
Aren't I just becoming a passive consumer of the AI's architecture? It feels less like I'm an architect and more like I'm just the guy staring at the finished building.
You only become a passive consumer if you default to the algorithm's baseline.
What do you mean?
The role of the information architect is about pattern recognition across totally different domains. AI is exceptional at retrieving data within known parameters, but human synthesis. That involves bridging entirely unrelated fields.
Give me an example.
Like taking a concept from biology, crossing it with behavioral economics, and applying it to, say, a personal creative project. The metabolic energy you save on rote memorization allows your brain to sustain the higher-order cognitive load required for that kind of abstract bridging.
Oh, I see the logic there. We are trading the rote memorization of individual bricks for the ability to draw massive, complex blueprints.
Exactly. You're designing the building now, not just hauling the bricks.
But hold on. If my brain is freeing up all this energy to become this grand architect, why does it suddenly feel physically impossible to just sit down and read a 400-page book anymore?
Oh man, you feel that too.
Yes. Hand me a novel today, and I find myself rereading the same paragraph 3 times because my mind is just buzzing. If I'm supposed to be primed for deep synthesis, why can't I focus on the blueprints?
Because you are experiencing a severe conflict over your attention span threshold.
My attention span threshold. Okay, break that down.
The region of your brain responsible for that deep focus, your prefrontal cortex, is currently trapped in a literal boxing match with AI algorithms. And honestly, it's losing.
The prefrontal cortex is like our executive control center, right? The willpower engine.
Yes.
But look, we have always had distractions. We had television, we had radio, video games. Why is my inability to read a book today fundamentally different from someone getting distracted by a sitcom 30 years ago?
Because the pacing and the targeting are entirely different. A sitcom 30 years ago was a broad, passive distraction.
Right, it was just kind of there.
Yeah. But today's algorithms are actively working against your deep focus muscles. They are designed by the smartest engineers on the planet to map your highly specific psychological triggers.
So it's personal.
Highly personal. When you interact with short-form content or rapid-fire AI summaries, you aren't just getting distracted. You are receiving these highly optimized, high-speed dopamine spikes directly into the brain's reward center.
It's an intravenous drip of cognitive reward.
Exactly. And that is the biological problem. Sustained reading, or traditional low and slow learning, requires significant metabolic effort from the prefrontal cortex.
It's hard work.
It demands patience, delayed gratification, active suppression of outside stimuli. But your brain, being that metabolic miser, realizes it can get a massive neurochemical reward from the device in your pocket for a fraction of the caloric cost.
So when I sit down with that book, my brain is actively protesting. It's basically saying, why are we burning our expensive fuel on this slow, demanding task when I know there's cheap, high-octane dopamine sitting right there on the desk?
Precisely. And because you repeatedly choose the high-octane dopamine, the neural pathways that sustain deep focus begin to physically atrophy.
Wait, physically atrophy? Like a muscle?
Like a muscle. The synapses responsible for sustained attention actually weaken. The algorithms bypass the need for willpower entirely, so your prefrontal cortex is starved of the opportunity to exert itself.
My deep focus muscles are literally withering away because they are never required to lift any heavy cognitive weight. The algorithm just puts the weight down for me.
It's a terrifying reality. It's a battle for our actual evolutionary survival.
That is incredibly bleak. We have the potential to be these amazing information architects, but the very tools giving us the data are destroying the executive function we need to sit still and synthesize it.
It is the defining conflict of modern cognition.
Okay, so since we can't completely unplug from the modern world, I mean, I can't just throw my phone into the ocean, how do we adapt? Are we just becoming a brand new species?
In a way, yes. We are entering the age of symbiotic intelligence.
Symbiotic intelligence. It sounds like sci-fi.
It does, but it's happening. Historically, biological mutations took millions of years, right? A slight change in bone density, whatever. But our mutations are now digital, and they are happening in real time.
Okay, I want to understand the mechanics of this symbiosis. How does a human being biologically merge with a digital algorithm?
The most fascinating detail in the research involves a specific neural circuit called the default mode network.
What does that do?
It's the part of your brain responsible for daydreaming. It activates when you are not focused on a specific external task. It's the center for spontaneous thought.
Okay, the daydreaming center.
Historically, when your default mode network generated a half-formed idea or a creative spark, your prefrontal cortex had to step in, wrestle with it, refine it, and turn it into something concrete.
Right. That entire loop happened internally.
Yes. But today, that default mode network is directly interacting with generative tools. The moment we get that initial spark, we immediately feed it into an AI. We type in a half-baked prompt, and the machine completes the neural loop for us.
Oh, wow. So we aren't just using AI, we are merging with it. They're outsourcing the actual generation of thought.
Exactly. The boundary between where human intuition ends and machine generation begins is dissolving.
You know, it reminds me of that concept from the sources, the perfect fried egg analogy.
Oh, yes. That's a great way to look at it.
It's like, to make the perfect fried egg, you need a balance, right? You need the machine precision, the exact right temperature, the non-stick pan, but you absolutely need the human intuition to know exactly when to pull it off the heat so the yolk doesn't cook through.
Right. It's a delicate cooking process.
But if you just let the machine do everything, you end up with rubber. Think about that visceral feeling of staring at a blinking cursor at 2 p.m. You have a massive project due. Your brain is practically begging for the algorithm to take over.
Oh, I know that feeling well.
Putting your hands on the keyboard to write that first, messy, original sentence feels agonizing. It physically hurts to concentrate.
That agony is the sensation of your atrophied neural pathways trying to fire without their usual algorithmic crutch. It's the pain of cognitive resistance.
So how do we push through that agony to achieve that perfect fried egg without getting burned? I need a practical tool for this so I don't just become a biological appendage to my laptop.
You need a framework to protect your mind. The research outlines a highly effective approach called intentional friction.
Intentional friction. I like the sound of that.
It's something you can use tomorrow. Since algorithms are designed to remove all friction from your cognitive process, you have to consciously engineer speed bumps back into your workflow.
Okay, going back to the egg analogy, how does this work?
Well, just like cracking an egg into a separate bowl first to avoid getting shells in your food, you must crack your raw thoughts into a blank doc or a physical journal before you ever ask the AI.
Wait, before I even open the AI tool?
Exactly. If you let the AI write the very first draft of your thoughts, if you use too much AI heat, so to speak, you burn your human creativity. You cap your work at the level of the global average.
Because the AI is just aggregating what everyone else has already said.
Right. You lose the evolutionary edge of original reasoning. You have to find that medium heat sweet spot to avoid being left behind.
So the intentional friction is forcing myself to sit with the blank page.
Yes. You generate the seed of the idea entirely in-house. You outline your own initial perspective, your own flawed arguments. You endure the agony of the draft.
And then what?
Then, once you have that messy original blueprint, you bring the AI in to stress test it or format it. But the foundational architecture is yours.
That is brilliant. You use the intentional friction to flex those deep focus muscles just enough to keep the synapses strong. You survive the digital mutation by controlling the interface.
You remain the architect.
This entire deep dive really forces us to reevaluate what we consider thinking. As we wrap up, I want to challenge everyone listening to consider the profoundly personal implications of this digital mutation.
It's something we all need to sit with.
Because if we are constantly integrating these tools into our daily cognitive loops, it changes the very nature of our minds.
It really does. And building on that default mode network discussion, the daydreaming center, it leaves us with a lingering question.
What's that?
Think about the classic shower thought. That sudden epiphany that strikes you out of nowhere when your mind is completely idle. Historically, that's been the purest expression of human intuition.
The ultimate unprompted insight.
Right. But if our brain's dedicated daydreaming center is constantly merging with generative algorithms all day long,
Wow.
what happens to the shower thought?
Oh, wow.
In a few years, when that brilliant, spontaneous idea pops into your head, you have to wonder, will that epiphany actually be yours, or will it have been silently co-authored by the AI?
That is a chilling thought. If you realize today that your IQ and your cognitive edge are actively slipping, you're only halfway there.
That's right.
Because the way you sleep actually determines if you can use that cognitive edge at all. Watch our breakdown on the billionaire sleep myth right here to complete the puzzle. Step away from the screen, embrace a little intentional friction today, and keep your human neurons firing. We'll catch you next time.